Welcome to the podcast where we unpack the strategies and philosophies of human resource that are driving today's changing world. I am your host Kanika Bishnoi from Exhilarai, and I am truly honored to welcome a true titan of the HR industry. Joining us is Deepak Behra, a distinguished leader from L&T Finance. He brings a wealth of experience and insights into navigating the complexities of industry and employee well-being. We are going to explore everything from performance to culture, the role of HR in AI. So without further ado, I welcome you, sir, Deepak Behra, sir.
Thanks for having me here.
So, sir, jumping straight to questions. In your extensive career, sir, you have undoubtedly faced moments where business outcomes and employee well-beings present trade-offs. So what personal philosophy guides your decision when these trade-offs occurs?
So, business outcomes and employee well-being, I don't think that those are competing parameters. So, trying to achieve business outcome at the expense of people or employees' well-being, in my opinion, is a strict no-no. So, a high-performance car can be only used to win the race if the engine is not sputtering. So, as a mechanic, my job would be to kind of ensure that the engine, which is our people, are well tuned, they're respected,
Yes.
and then they're all set for the long run.
That is a very powerful perspective. So, looking back at your journey, can you pinpoint an inflection point that most accelerated your growth as an HR leader? And what specific mindset shift did it require from you?
This has to be my choice of getting out from my very predictable, comfortable, cozy job in a semiconductor industry
Right.
with extremely good work-life balance and all certainty and everything going on for me, and taking a leap of faith and joining the XLRI course of HRM of uncertainty and the unpredictability. But in the hindsight, while I say this is the inflection point, the journey, no matter how tough it was or how challenging it was, it has been very satisfying and fulfilling.
So, fascinating, sir. Growth often comes from those pivotal moments.
Yep.
So now, I'll talk about a topic that HR professional continuously grapple with, the performance management.
Yes.
It feels like it has been reinvented countless times. In your experience, what 2 or 3 practices actually move the needle on performance without creating the dreaded appraisal fatigue?
I think performance management, over the last 10-15 years has seen a lot of avatars of variety of ways in which they are being kind of pushed to the employees at large. But the underlying premise of the nuances remains constant, and the business leader would do well to not escape those nuances in order to kind of truly motivate and get the best out of the performance management system. I suggest there are 3 things to it. First being, kill the surprise element. Your performance management, which starts with the basic feedback, that should be upfront, and that should be not coming as a surprise to the employees.
Okay.
Which means the discussion has to be continuous, it has to be more frequent, and it has to be more regular interval. Second being, the discussion approach has to be more constructive, wherein the approach is to understand the problems and removing the roadblocks, and not to kind of sit and have a discussion to assign blames. Right. And third, and the most important thing, is to de-link the performance conversations from the pay conversations or the pay chats. Right.
Yeah.
The moment money is on the table, the genuinity and the honestness from the conversation goes out of the window.
Sure.
So these are the 3 premises which I think would make any of the performance management system in whatever avatar they come would make it successful.
So, appraisal fatigue is definitely something everyone wants to avoid. So, building on that, if a team's outcome are slipping, what is your diagnostic playbook for separating a performance issue from a system or culture issue? How do you get the root cause effectively?
Okay. I will be asking few of the questions to myself and the team members to understand the real problems. To be specific, it would be a 2 or 3 questions, series of questions. The first being, are you aware of the destination? Are you aware what needs to be delivered or what is expected out of you? Second being, do you have the vehicle to drive to the destination, which is, do we have that required skill sets, the tools, the resources for you to go that and deliver that result or expected out of you, right? And third is the traffic light green, which means that are you facing any roadblocks or any hindrances, be it bureaucracy, be it any kind of pushback, hindrances, which it is the job of the manager to kind of resolve and address. If all these questions are asked and we get satisfactory answer, then probably we will be able to identify the real reason. 9 out of 10 cases, problem lies within these three statements. So I believe asking these three questions and getting the honest answers from the employees will help understand or the real reason and kind of mitigate the problem.
Lovely perspective, sir. Moving to another critical area, compensation. It is always trying to balance fairness, competitiveness, and affordability. In today's turbulent market, what framework helps you reconcile these elements?
So you mentioned fairness, competitiveness, and affordability.
Yes.
I mean, in my opinion, and I have fair amount of exposure and experience in the compensation side.
Yeah.
I think managing compensation within a company is always balancing the three-legged stool.
Oh,
Of each of the leg being whatever you mentioned.
Right.
One is the fairness part,
yes.
one is the competitiveness, and
Third
one is
one,
the
affordability.
affordability. Your competitiveness is having to do with the external market.
Hmm.
We should be somewhere near the ballpark figure what the market is paying. We cannot be too away, we cannot be paying too much because that may kind of
Right.
affect the other leg of it. The second is the competitiveness. Sorry, first is the competitiveness, second is the affordability, and third is the
Fairness.
fairness.
Yeah.
So fairness is something to do with the internal. So we have to be very transparent about what we are paying and how we are paying to the employee. Right. They should be understanding the genuinity and the fairness behind the pay that is being doled out to them. And third, which is the affordability, is the business reality, is the truth of the day. We cannot pay something which we do not earn. First, we need to earn that, and when we earn that money, we can then distribute as a salary or kind of turn around the compensation philosophy around the same. So that is the business reality. We have to accordingly adjust. Either of the three, any one leg of the three legs of the stool, if it is too short, then the stool cannot, stand. It will wobble and fall down to that. So we have to ensure that there is the three legs are well balanced, and then probably we can have a horizontal plane.
Right, so I loved how you stressed the importance of balancing there. So many organizations say that culture eats strategy, but culture itself can drift. How do you deliberately evolve culture while preserving its core identity and values?
Defining the culture is the key starting point, as I mentioned. Once you are very much aware, and also the leaders themselves are aware that what the culture is, the roots get formed and are kind of in black and white mentioned and is there in the mind of each and every employee of the organization. The roots are something which cannot move. Those are the building blocks of the bedrocks of the entire tree which kind of blooms over that.
Right.
What we can trim and prune is the growing branches, which kind of shifts along with the timeline, along the new advancements in the landscape. So those things need to be pruned which kind of not delivering fruits, and accordingly we have to have that gumption to kind of cut or prune those branches which may look nice from outside but may not be yielding the fruits that we require. So pruning those branches is something that we have to take a conscious call, but the roots cannot be played with. Right? They are kind of something which remains static, and they are the kind of north star for the company.
So that was really insightful. What is the most underrated HR intervention you have used that created an outsized impact on engagement or productivity? Something perhaps overlooked by many.
Underrated intervention. I think to my mind it comes stay interviews, because people always do exit interview a normal formalities, right? And we generally worry after the person has exited and decided to exit. When everything is done and dusted, it's kind of post-mortem kind of thing. But we generally fail to do the preemptive action which you can take and which is in the hands of the organization to curb that attrition which can happen. So I think stay interview, if done in all honesty and sincerity, can yield good amount of result. Then kind of losing the employee and then doing the exit interview for the same employee.
That is the kind of practical wisdom our listeners crave. So, for fresh graduates starting in today's dynamic market, what are the 3 capabilities that will compound their career value over the next decade, and how they can practice them weekly to build that muscle?
So, you're talking about the fresh graduates from the college.
Or even like us starting after the college, like what are the 3 core values that you give preference to?
I think curiosity is something which each of the person has to have, because any innovation coming out of necessity
Yes.
or constraint, no matter however adequate or lucrative it looks like, is coming out of external compulsion. But curiosity, if it is there, it is truly an intrinsic motivation to do the innovative things and go the extra mile.
Yes.
Second, I think would be resilience, which we discussed in the panel discussion as well.
Right.
Does the person have the gumption to kind of stand up once again after being knocked down, and then trade the same path or try a different way to achieve the result? And third would be I think generosity, maybe, because then they would be the people who will coming into the ecosystem and will be building the culture. If they are generous with their time and their knowledge and help the others grow better, I think these are the three attributes that I would urge all the employees to, the freshers to have.
Excellent advice there, sir. And finally, on the broader future of HR, with AI increasingly entering recruitment, learning, and performance management, what do you believe will differentiate great HR teams from average ones in the next 3 to 5 years?
You see, the average HR team would do the same job with the help of the AI in a faster time.
True.
But a great HR team will utilize that time saved in becoming more humane,
Oh.
and utilizing that time to establish more genuine connections. So it is not the tick that everyone can buy or everyone can have. It is the humanity that the person or the HR team brings in that will be the differentiator.
That is a lovely point, sir. Like, I also agree. Like, as machines are becoming more intelligent, we humans must become more emotionally intelligent. So that was fantastic. So thank you for giving us this time. This was incredibly insightful. So I wanted to start our rapid fire round if you're ready for it.
Okay.
So, okay,
Rapid
sir.
fire round, okay.
Yeah, just a quick word or phrase for each one.
Just
So,
a-
yeah. I think this was much needed for the rapid fire round. So, sir, there would be a one word check in. Leadership in one word today.
Clarity,
Okay. Hire or upskill first?
upskill, always. Always better than your own people first.
Okay. Potential versus performance when promoting. Pick one.
Potential, performance can be a starting point, but it is an entry point.
Okay.
Finally, it is the potential which is the grand prize that one.
Most overrated interview question.
Tell me something about yourself.
Right.
What are your weaknesses?
Right.
It's a rehearsed lie, but yeah, those are the
Yes,
most
we
favorite.
dread those questions. A book or course that changed how you run HR.
Oh, I love the book of The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team.
Okay.
It was, if I believe, the author name was Patrick Lancioni.
Okay.
But I really loved that book. It was genuinely helpful in bringing practices onto the real life.
Right.
Yeah.
A people metric to ban forever.
Yeah. I think I will give that answer with a context to it.
Okay.
I think span of control being used as a surrogate or a pseudo variable to judge the managerial effectiveness.
Okay.
So that cannot be say so for your managerial effectiveness. The number of span the manager has, the better or effective,
Okay.
more effective he or she is. So that shouldn't be the case. So span of control using in this context, I think it shouldn't be, and I would ban it.
And that was great organization behavior answer I think you gave. Remote, hybrid or office if forced to pick.
Nice that you called it out. If forced to pick, then it would be hybrid.
Okay, lovely. The best low cost perk you have actually seen work.
Low cost.
Low cost perk benefit that you have seen actually work.
I think it is zero cost, which will actually work, which is providing clarity. My first question, what leadership means, providing clarity and allowing full autonomy for the employees to carry out their responsibilities.
So fantastic. Deepak, thank you so much for sharing your invaluable wisdom and for playing along with our rapid fire round. This has truly been an enlightening conversation covering so much ground from strategic leadership to the practicalities of HR. We hope this podcast provides everyone with actionable insights and inspiration for their own professional journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.